There are only two branches of the military, the Army and the Navy. The Air Force is a corporation, and the Marine Corps is a cult. Welcome to the Salty Seaman. Today we're going to be talking about different cultures in the armed forces. Now, one of the things I get asked about a lot in the comment sections is, what is the difference between the different services? Everyone knows, obviously, you do different jobs, but is everything kind of the same? Is military just military? Are you just all a bunch of Army guys? Kind of have a similar motif and mentality? Absolutely not. I mean, I think a lot of civilians do know that we're all a little different, but a lot don't. And a lot of people keep asking me, especially people going in. They want to know what they're getting into. So here's a little primer for those who are just curious how we're all different, and those who are looking to join and want to know what service they want to go into. Now, disclaimer, this is my experience, my personal opinions. Yours may differ, they may vary. I'm not going to dispute you, but there's no reason to go yell at me in the comments, though you're going to do it anyway because some people just like to bitch and yell. Looking at you, Marines. I got 2,000 likes on my Full Metal Jacket video, and I got 1,000 dislikes, which I'm assuming is all from butthurt Marines who are upset that I did a video about a Marine thing. But anyway, moving on. See, I was Navy. I worked a lot with Marines, but I've worked a little bit with the Army and very least with the Air Force. But enough to, especially in my career field, where I kind of got a feel for them just the little bit I saw, so we'll start with them. The Air Force, as said in the joke, is more of a corporation. It's more of a business vice, more of a military mindset. They don't really kind of follow a military mantra. I mean, yes, they are about pride and professionalism, and you see some military bearing stuff, but a lot of it is very laid back. Going to Air Force, Armed Forces network stations as I have, and kind of seeing how they operate is quite different from what I've done with the Navy and the Marines. They seem to have a corporate mentality that's just kind of military, but not quite there. And they have such a variety of jobs. Obviously, their main job is to put planes in the air and go drop bombs on people. But they have, research and development. They have, all these little super secret squirrel jobs and just a bunch of oddities that kind of got put on them after World War II. When they broke off from the Army and kind of did their own thing, they kind of got to write their own rules. I think a lot of it was they threw out what they didn't like about the Army and kept what they did, and then kind of created their own culture, which is kind of neat because the other three services are, like it or not, we go back hundreds of years, and the culture changes over time, but not as drastically as creating a whole new branch. So, I mean, if you like that kind of thing, you're feeling mildly military, and there's a cool job in the Air Force you want to do, that'd probably be the place you want to go. I don't think it's going to be that tough if you're not feeling like the military kind of pressure is over demanding. And that's not true for every job in the Air Force, but just from my experience, that's kind of true. Now we move on to the biggest branch of the military, over 1 million strong, the Army. Now, my training school, my basic school for my job, mass communication specialist, is in an Army post, and it's an Army run facility. It's also where I've been back several times for various schools. Media communications, we all go to one school. It's ran by the Army, so I've spent well over a year altogether working on that base and working for Army. And that's one aspect of them, but that's the other thing you've got to remember with the Army. They're so huge. Like I said, there are 1 million people. They have tons of weird little specialties. It's different everywhere you go. I don't think there's a uniform kind of Army thing. Infantry is infantry, and they're very militaristic. I've heard the armor tank guys are kind of that way, but they're also a little bit more laid back. And then you get into your other specialties where sometimes they don't even see other Army people, like almost ever. The veterinarians, I mean, they can be assigned to any base that needs a vet. So, I mean, they're on Navy, Army, Air Force bases, Marine bases everywhere, and they don't even work with the Army, so they kind of pick up the mentality of wherever they work, and then just little specialties, in my career field, I thought they were mostly okay, but I felt it was more of like the Marines were kind of like they're one way, which I'll get to, and the Army is kind of that way, but then they're kind of cool, but then they'll fuck you. So I mean, like, I can't say I've had the greatest experience with the Army. Nothing against everyone in the Army. I mean, I've had met some great soldiers too, but it's very inconsistent because they're just so big and they're just different. They just have such a wide variety of cultures that it's hard to peg down. I mean, if you want to go military, go Army infantry seems to be pretty similar to what I saw in the Marines, but your mileage may vary. Now onto these branch I know the second most about because I worked with them on and off my whole career. I spent my last 3 years working in their environment, albeit it was a POG air base and I was a media guy at a Armed Forces radio and TV station. But yeah, I get to see their culture. That's the Marines. And I love my Marines. I think they're a great branch, but boy are they them. I mean, they are military. They are, I said, you could do like the most POG person other than grunt job, like Pogue. I always say POG. I like POG, so that's all I always say POG. But Pogue, whatever Pogue job you do, they still have that Marine to them. It doesn't matter if you're a cook, you're an air wing guy. Maybe the air wing is a little, get to slack a little bit, but not as much as like another branch. But even in mass communication, they're all kind of want to be grunts. And then you got the grunts, which I worked with several times on deployments and floats, and they've got their own mentality, and they're they're hard charging, and they have a very strict lifestyle, and even when they play hard, they got to come back and work hard, and there's no excuses for not having your shit together at any time. And when they have their time off, they're fucking crazy. They just, it's a pressure cooker, I guess. And what I said about the cult thing, they're a cult. They are all about their military heritage and history, and they deify certain people and events to the point of it's like a religious service. You talk about Chesty Puller, you talk about Tun Tavern, you talk about, even General Mattis, who just got made sect deaf. There's little memes going around like worshiping him as a god, and that's kind of how they act. Every service does a military ball once a year on the birthday, and other services like, hey, cool, you come, you don't. No, not in the Marines. Like you're going, and they can't really force you to do it, and they used to illegally, and now they can't. But now they basically make it like, it's. Your life's so miserable if you don't go, you might as well just fucking go and spend the money. I mean, that's just how they are, but it's a brotherhood that's, completely different than any other service. Like I don't think any of the services compare to their brotherhood and their tightness and their unity. Now granted, there's some other problems, like we just had the issue with, the nude pictures. There's a strong sexism issue in the Marines. In the Marines, and they're not alone, but I mean, I never saw it as strong as I did with them. So something they got to work on. But overall, like I love them. I think they're, badasses, and I admire, their unity. And last but not least, talking about my own service, the Navy. Military-wise, we're kind of like the Air Force, but a little different. Like I would describe us as blue collar. Like we're the blue collar military. We stand on ceremony every once in a while, maybe a little more than Air Force, but we let little things go oftentimes because we're trying to get a ship underway, and we just want you to do your goddamn job. We'll go fuck with you about your uniform and your haircut and whatever later, because it's about the job. The Navy is all about the job. We do pride and professionalism. We do Navy heritage. There's military bearing stuff in there too, but it takes a wayside to what the mission is, and that's what the Navy's always been about, I think, is making that ship run, shooting off missiles and bullets and putting Marines on the shore, shooting off aircraft, whatever it is. You know, that's our goal. Like the Navy has to be like that because no one's going to help you in the middle of the ocean. We're self-sufficient, so it's more important that someone knows how to do their job right, as opposed to being like a great, you know, military person. And of course, as I say that, every job is different. You know, you have your own little subcultures of things. The bosun's mates are definitely their own thing. They all get tattoos, you know, here in the right here and in the other places. You know, they show their camaraderie. Other, you know, the gunner's mates are kind of similar. You know, there's pride in what you do, but it's overall, I think there is just a mentality of like, you work hard, you play hard. You work hard, you play hard. You know, end of the day, we can wait for the military stuff to do it. We got a job to do. Anyway, that's just my opinion and experiences with the different services. Coast Guard, I really don't know that much about. I've had very, very little to do with them. They're not technically military anyway, but that's pretty much it. If you agree, disagree, have your own experiences, definitely put them down in the comments. We'll talk about it, have some discussions. If you like this video and check out some of my other ones. I do all sorts of military related stuff. I do movie reviews that everyone seems to love. You know, like and subscribe because I love you guys and this is fun for me. So that's all I gotta say. Peace.